Hi guys, it's Ronen. In this video, I'm going to talk about what a belt sander, or some people call it a belt grinder, is, why we use it for knife making, and why I decided to build one. So the primary function of a belt grinder is to remove material from another object. The way it does that is we have a flexible fabric belt here with abrasive bonded to it. There's a big motor back here to spin the belt. Now, if I was to take an object like this steel knife-like thing and push it into the abrasive while it's spinning, the super hard and sharp corners of the abrasive grit will actually cut into the steel and grind it into dust. It'll remove the material. Now, there's a reason that we use this machine for knife making. There are actually a lot of different machines made for removing material. For example, a lot of you are familiar with drill presses, where a drill bit drills downward and makes a hole. There's a milling machine. It's similar to a drill press in some ways in appearance, but instead of just drilling downward, you get what are called end mills that can also cut sideways. Now, you could imagine probably shaping a knife by cutting sideways with an end mill, but there's a reason that we use the grinder and not end mills or other types of conventional cutters. The reason is that knife steel is special steel. So to begin with, the alloy is generally going to be a very tough and wear-resistant alloy. It's literally resistant to being cut. In addition, at some point during the knife-making process, hot steel is quenched, and that makes it hard. If you were to try to drill into hardened steel, your drill bit just wouldn't cut into it. It becomes incredibly difficult to machine with conventional cutters. Now, you can buy end mills, specialty stuff made out of carbide. You can buy diamond-coated drill bits to continue shaping it after it's been hardened. That stuff's really expensive. For example, a carbide end mill could be $100, $200, maybe even $300 in order to cut. Now, abrasive is a much cheaper option. That's the biggest advantage to it. So, for example, this is a pretty high-end belt. It's made by 3M. It's zirconia alumina, and this expensive belt is $9. Compare that to the $300 carbide end mill. There are even cheaper abrasives than this. You can get aluminum oxide belts for $3. So it's really a big advantage. Now, there are disadvantages to using belts. The biggest one is that people use end mills and milling machines because they're incredibly precise. If you're a good machinist, you can get your cut precise to the nearest thousandth or maybe even 10,000th of an inch. This machine is not going to be that precise. For one, the abrasive surface actually pushes up against a rubber wheel, and as I push into it, the rubber deforms. If I push hard, the rubber will really deform, and you're not going to be able to hold that really tight, 8-inch radius the way a carbide end mill will always hold its form. In addition, the abrasive itself, by nature, wears down. That's how it stays sharp, is it fractures and exposes the new sharp edge. But that means that over time, literally the diameter of this wheel effectively decreases, or across the belt you're going to have different areas of wear. However, that's not really a problem in knife making. Knife making, custom knives are shaped by hand, and you're not going to be precise to the nearest thousandth of an inch with your hand motion. The precision provided by this belt sander is totally adequate for knife making. So that's why we use this machine. Now, why did I decide to build a machine? So, I got into knife making maybe 2.5 years ago, and when I first started, I looked around the internet and, checked out what people were using to make knives. And I saw some tools like this one. Now, this tool that I designed, I modeled off a tool that's sold. A guy named Travis Wirtz designed it. It's totally awesome, and it costs about $4,000. And then you start buying peripheral attachments for it and tooling, and you're easily spending $6,000 or $7,000. And when I was first getting started, I didn't want to invest that kind of money. As a professional, that's totally understandable. If your livelihood depends on it, if you can make more knives, then a better machine will make you a richer knife maker. But as an amateur, it just wasn't worth it. So 2 years ago, I actually made my first belt sander. There is an excellent community online of knife makers and hobbyists that show their designs, and you know, a lot of people make amateur belt sanders. And I copied some of them. I took aspects from everyone's designs that I really liked and made what I thought would be a great machine. And after making my first knife, I realized it was not a great machine. You know, I used the machine over the course of a year, and I made 5 or 6 knives, and realized it had a lot of deficiencies. It was difficult to use, it was clunky, it took physical effort to adjust, it was slow. I was probably spending about 80% of my time making knives just adjusting the machine. And so recently I decided I wanted to make a better machine, the best I could do. So about 5 months ago, I started this design. I based it off of Travis Wirtz's design because it's really excellent, and I put this thing together. Now, there are some advantages to making my own grinder. So first of all, I can make it exactly how I wanted it, and you know, I learned a lot of lessons from my last grinder, and they all just poured into this thing, and this is a total pleasure to use. In addition, you know, while the first one took a lot of time to make, I now have this design on my computer. If I want to make another one, I can probably build what you see here in a long weekend. Now, you know, if the going rate for this machine is $4,000, that's not a bad deal. In addition, any peripheral tools or attachments I want to build, I can design really easily on my computer and know that it'll fit because this entire design is on my computer in CAD. You know, there are some obvious disadvantages to building your own grinder, namely time. I've probably spent a few hundred hours over the last 5 months. That's a lot of time because I also have a full-time job, but you know, I poured my heart and soul into this, and you know, if you're looking at the dollars to hour ratio, it's not worth it. But I did learn a ton while building this, and yeah, I have something I'm really proud of. Now I should mention that while I built my first one, I specifically designed this, and I tried to conform to, you know, standards. I mean, there aren't really stringent standards in the knife making industry. Standards, when I say standard, I mean Travis Wirtz designed a machine, it has a certain spacing, and other companies actually started putting out tools that fit his machine. So in effect, it's a standard. Now, I decided that, you know, at some point in the future, maybe I don't want to build machines, I might want to make knives instead, so I intentionally designed this machine to conform to that standard. So any tool that works with, you know, that grinder, that famous grinder, will also work on mine. So it's been a long, hard project, and at this point I'm, you know, through the tunnel, out the other side. I have a machine that I'm incredibly proud of, and I am excited to show it to you.